The letter arrived on a Thursday. No return address. Just Cole's name written in shaky cursive on the front of a brittle yellow envelope that smelled faintly of mothballs and wood smoke. Inside, a folded page of faded stationery. Cole, do not open the trapdoor, whatever you do, not the cellar. I kept it shut for 70 years. If it rattles, you burn the house. Don't look, don't talk. Don't remember Grandma Esther. It was impossible. His grandmother had died 5 years ago. He buried her himself. Cole stared at the letter for hours before finally driving out to the cabin. She'd left it to him in the will, a crooked timber house nestled in the side of Redwater Mountain, surrounded by choking pine and long-forgotten footpaths. He hadn't visited since the funeral, hadn't wanted to. The road up was mostly mud, half flooded from recent rains. By the time he arrived, it was near dark, and the tree line looked like a row of mourners pressed together in black. The cabin was untouched, windows still boarded, wind chimes still clattered from the porch. The welcome sign dangled by a single nail, letters peeled away by time. Inside it smelled the same, damp wood, old books, cedar chests, and something else, earth. He moved through the rooms slowly, letting memory creep back in. The tiny kitchen, where she used to hum hymns while boiling chicory. The rocking chair by the fireplace that never stopped moving, even when empty. And the cellar door, still locked, still bearing the iron latch she'd bolted shut when he was 10. "Don't go near that," she used to whisper. "Why?" he'd asked once. "Because things under the ground are meant to stay under." That night, he couldn't sleep. The wind moaned through the chimney, but it wasn't the wind that kept him awake. It was the sound of something tapping from below the floorboards. 3 taps, then a pause, then 3 more. Like a code. Cole went to the cellar door, still latched, still shut. He stood there, the letter in one hand, flashlight in the other. He remembered one night when he was small, waking up to see Esther standing over the door in the dark, whispering something through the cracks. She had tears on her cheeks. Back then, he thought it was just a dream. Now, he wasn't sure. He decided to search the house the next day for answers, for proof. Maybe someone forged the letter. Maybe this was some sick joke. But deep down, he already knew better. Because that night, he dreamed of his grandmother's voice, whispering the same phrase over and over. Not all graves are dug in dirt, Cole. Some are buried in blood. The morning sun did little to ease the chill that had settled into Cole's bones. The kind of cold that isn't from weather, but from knowing something is wrong and can't be undone. He brewed stale coffee on the rusted stove and stared at the cellar door. Still shut, still locked. But now, something had changed. The latch was wet. Not just damp, but muddy, like someone had come up from underneath during the night. Cole spent the next few hours digging through his grandmother's things. Her old Bible had strange pages marked with pressed flowers. Her calendar was full of red X's, all over the dates in August, circled again and again. He found a box of photographs in a trunk near the hearth. Esther as a young woman, standing with 2 other girls, twins. Each photo was the same. The twins always stood on either side of her. But in every single photo, one of the twins' faces had been scratched out, viciously, with a nail or blade. Outside, the wind began to howl. Cole decided to head into town. The closest store was 10 miles down the mountain to ask about Esther's sisters. He barely remembered them. Esther never talked about her childhood, just said her family came from hollow blood, whatever that meant. He stopped at Joe Alcott's Feed and Hardware, where old-timers still whittled on the porch and stared at newcomers like they were ghosts. Joe himself nearly dropped his coffee when Cole asked, "Did Esther have sisters?" Joe's face went pale. She had one sister. No, she had twins in all the photos. She had one sister, son. Joe wouldn't say more. But one of the older men beside him, a leathery farmer with clouded eyes, muttered, "The hollow took the other one." That night, Cole returned to the cabin with more questions than answers, and when the wind died, the sound came back, knocking. But this time, it wasn't alone. Voices, faint, echoing from beneath the floorboards, not shouting, not crying, whispering, too soft to make out, until one word came through clearly, "Remember." Cole stepped to the cellar door, pressed his ear against the wood. Another whisper, this time closer, almost behind him. "We remember for you." He spun, but the room was empty. Yet on the wall beside the door, something new had appeared, a symbol. Drawn in dark brown, in a looping pattern that looked like intertwined roots or veins. pulsing. He tried to wipe it off. It wouldn't smudge. That night, he dreamed of the photograph again. Only this time, the scratched-out face looked back. The knock came just after midnight. 3 sharp raps on the front door, not the cellar, not the walls, the front door. Cole grabbed the poker from the fireplace and approached slowly. No sound outside, no movement. He opened it. Just wind, trees, darkness. And on the porch, a shoebox wrapped in waxed paper and twine. Inside were more photographs, not just of Esther and the twins, but of the house itself, taken from angles no one inside could have captured. Some were dated, 1947, 1952, 1974, in different handwriting. Each image showed the cabin slowly sinking into the earth, the ground beneath it warping, like something pulling it down. Taped to the bottom of the box was a newspaper clipping. Local girl still missing, Margaret Hollis, 11, disappeared while visiting cousins in Redwater, presumed lost in woods. Cole's heart froze. His grandmother's maiden name was Hollis. Margaret was her twin sister. He drove into town the next morning, desperate to find someone, anyone, who remembered. At the county archive, he was told the basement microfilm machines hadn't worked in years. But the librarian, a gray-haired woman named Mrs. Dalton, offered him something better. "Your grandma came here often," she said, "sat in that corner for hours, always asked for hollow records, but we never had any." She handed him a manila folder. It was brittle with age. "She asked me to give this to you, said you'd come eventually." Inside, a single page of scrawled handwriting. "They never found Margaret, because she never left. She's in the root, and the root remembers." Cole returned to the cabin in a daze. The cellar door was open. The iron latch lay twisted on the ground, bent outward, not broken in. He took one step toward the opening and froze. Footsteps came from below. Not slow, not creeping, running. He slammed the door shut and shoved a dresser in front of it. But as the last thump echoed upstairs, the symbol on the wall pulsed again, no longer just drawn, but glowing, like veins lit from within. It was spreading. That night, he dreamed of the photo again, the one with the scratched face. Only now the scratches were gone. And the third girl, Margaret, was smiling. But it wasn't joy. It was recognition. In the dream, she whispered, "You were supposed to grow up for me." Cole didn't sleep. He sat all night in the kitchen chair, flashlight in one hand, the fire poker in the other, watching the cellar door, listening. Nothing came up again. But the symbol on the wall had grown. What had been a single knot of root-like lines was now a web, stretching from floor to ceiling. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. It wasn't just spreading, it was feeding. At dawn, he pulled the dresser away. The trapdoor creaked open without resistance. The air below smelled like rotting soil and iron. He strapped a headlamp to his forehead, gripped the flashlight tighter, and descended the wooden stairs one at a time. It was colder than it should have been. Damp, dense, too quiet. Then, the last step gave way to dirt. He was underground. No concrete, no brick. Just an old tunnel burrowed beneath the cabin, its walls lined with roots, thick, gnarled, some as wide as tree trunks. And carved into those roots were faces. Dozens of them. Children, old men, women. Their features warped like they had been grown, not carved. Some wept, some screamed, but one face was calm, serene. Margaret, he whispered her name. The tunnel answered. "You came for her." The voice didn't echo. It soaked into the walls. Deeper in, the tunnel opened into a chamber. Roots twisted into crude furniture. A crib, a rocking chair, a writing desk made of bark and bone. At the center sat a mirror. Old, freestanding, cracked, but still reflecting. Only not him. In the mirror, a small boy stood where Cole should be, wearing his childhood clothes, mud on his shoes, a terrified look on his face. Cole whispered, "Is that me?" The mirror boy looked up, then smiled. And behind him, in the mirror's reflection, Margaret stepped into view. Her eyes were black as oil. Her smile was too wide. She said nothing, just held out her hand. "Trade a memory," the voice said. "The root remembers. The root returns." Cole didn't understand, but something in him did. He stepped forward, looked into the glass, and said, "Take the night my mother died. Take that memory." The moment the words left his lips, the chamber shuddered. The walls groaned, the roots writhed, and for a single second he remembered nothing. No hospital, no white bed, no hand squeezing his, just a blank space. And then stillness. The mirror went dark. When he climbed back into the cabin, the symbol on the wall was gone. So was the box of photos. So was the letter. But the cellar door stayed open, like it was waiting. That night, when Cole looked at himself in the mirror, he noticed something wrong. His eyes were the wrong shade of green, and when he smiled, it wasn't his smile. Cole drove back into town the next morning. He didn't remember deciding to. He just found himself behind the wheel. The sky looked too pale. The trees leaned inward like they were watching. His reflection in the rearview mirror blinked slower than him. At the diner, people stared. Joe Alcott spilled hot coffee on himself and muttered something under his breath. The waitress, who'd known him since childhood, asked, "You feeling all right, hon? You look different." He smiled and said, "Just tired." But the way she stepped back told him that wasn't true. That night, Cole tried to sleep, but the wind in the trees outside wouldn't stop mimicking voices. Cole? Trade? Memory? He stuffed towels under the doors, blocked the windows, unplugged every mirror. Still, the voices crawled through. On the third night, someone knocked again. 3 raps. This time, he didn't open the door. He walked to the mirror in the hallway, the only one he hadn't smashed, and saw. Not his face, but Margaret's, standing behind him. She wasn't a girl anymore. Her body was taller, stretched wrong, as if she'd grown underground where bones forget how to bend. Her eyes glowed red. Her mouth opened, far too wide, and from it came his voice. "Thank you for growing up for me." He screamed, smashed the mirror, but nothing changed. Every reflection in the house showed her now. Margaret, smiling, sometimes younger, sometimes older, but always there. Cole tried to run. He drove 20 miles before the road looped back to the cabin. The hollow wouldn't let him go. He understood now. When he gave up that memory, he didn't just trade a night. He traded his way out. The thing in the cellar didn't take his pain. It swapped places. And now he was what lived in the root. Weeks passed. No one heard from Cole again. Eventually, the cabin was declared abandoned. Locals said the woods had finally swallowed it. Some swear they still see lights there on moonless nights. One fall evening, a hiker wandered too far off trail. She returned pale and shaking, unable to explain how she got lost so close to town. All she would say, over and over, "There's someone in the trees. He's smiling wrong. And he remembers things I've never told anyone." Down in the hollow, where the roots sleep beneath the house, there's a new face in the bark. Eyes closed, mouth open, still screaming.